It was supposed to be just another ordinary morning. The sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the kitchen as Robert shuffled around, preparing breakfast. The smell of toast filled the air, a routine so familiar it almost felt like muscle memory. But then, without warning, it happened. A sharp, searing pain shot through his chest, and before he could even gasp for help, his legs gave out beneath him. He collapsed onto the cold tile floor, clutching at his heart, his breath shallow and uneven. Panic erupted in the house like wildfire. His wife screamed for their son, who dialed 911 with trembling hands. As they waited for the ambulance, I stood frozen, watching my father struggle to draw each labored breath. It was as if time itself had slowed down, every second stretching into an eternity. The man who once carried me on his shoulders, who taught me how to ride a bike, now lay helpless, his life hanging by a thread. And in that moment, something inside me shattered. What made it worse was the realization that this didn't have to happen, not yet, not like this. For years, Robert had ignored the subtle warnings his body sent him, the fatigue after meals, the shortness of breath climbing stairs, the occasional dizziness when standing up too quickly. He dismissed them all as just part of getting older. But aging isn't supposed to mean surrendering to illness or accepting decline as inevitable. Those small signs weren't harmless. They were cries for help, urgent signals from a body begging for attention. And now, lying there on the floor, Robert finally understood what those signals meant. Your body doesn't wait for you to catch up. Every missed opportunity to act is a step closer to disaster. The paramedics arrived just in time, rushing him to the hospital, where doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize him. They told us later that if we'd waited even 5 minutes longer, we might have lost him forever. 5 minutes. That's how fragile life can be. As we sat in the sterile hospital waiting room, the weight of reality pressed down on us. This wasn't just about Robert anymore. It was a wake-up call for everyone. How many others out there are ignoring the same warnings? How many families will face the same terror we did today? I thought back to all the times I had seen him brush off advice about eating healthier or exercising more. "I'm fine," he'd always say with a wave of his hand. But here's the truth: no one is truly fine until they take action. Heart disease doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in silently, building pressure until it explodes. Falls don't come with warnings. They strike suddenly, leaving devastation in their wake. Respiratory issues don't develop overnight. They're the result of years of neglect. Each of these conditions has one thing in common: they thrive on inaction, and yet they're all preventable if only we start paying attention sooner rather than later. As I sat beside my father's hospital bed that night, holding his frail hand, I realized something else. Life isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about waking up each day with energy, purpose, and independence. But achieving that requires effort, awareness, and most importantly, courage. Courage to confront the risks head on, to make changes no matter how small, and to prioritize health above convenience or complacency. Because while aging may be inevitable, suffering doesn't have to be. A. Heart disease. A silent killer strikes in the dead of night. Henry, a proud 76-year-old who often boasted about his still good health, was no stranger to dismissing minor symptoms. He shrugged off fatigue after meals as just getting older, and ignored the occasional dizziness when standing up too quickly. But one fateful night, everything changed. Around midnight, Henry clutched his chest in agony, gasping for air as waves of excruciating pain radiated through his body. His son, sleeping in the next room, woke to faint groans and rushed in to find his father barely conscious. Panic surged through the house like wildfire as they dialed 911. At the hospital, doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize him. The diagnosis, a massive heart attack. They told us later that if we had arrived even 5 minutes later, Henry might not have survived him. 5 minutes, such a small window between life and death. It wasn't until this harrowing experience that we discovered Henry's blood pressure had been dangerously high for years. Yet he always insisted, "I'm fine." That stubborn belief almost cost him his life. The days following the incident were filled with guilt and regret. We realized how easily preventable this crisis could have been. Regular checkups, dietary adjustments, and light exercise could have saved him from this near-fatal event. Instead, he now faced months of rehabilitation, relearning basic tasks like walking without assistance. His once confident demeanor gave way to vulnerability, a stark reminder that ignoring early warnings can lead to devastating consequences. B. Falls and injuries. When stability becomes fragility. Dorothy, an active 80-year-old, prided herself on maintaining her independence. She cooked meals, gardened, and enjoyed evening walks around the neighborhood. But one rainy afternoon, disaster struck. As she descended the staircase, a sudden wave of dizziness overwhelmed her. Her foot slipped, and gravity did the rest. With a horrifying thud, Dorothy tumbled down the stair, screaming in pain. Her daughter ran in, only to find her mother lying motionless at the bottom. The X-rays revealed a shattered hip, a catastrophic injury for someone her age. What followed was 6 months of immobilization and despair. Dorothy's vibrant spirit dimmed as her muscles weakened and her joints stiffened. Simple pleasures became impossible luxuries. She couldn't dress herself, bathe independently, or enjoy her favorite pastimes. The mirror became her enemy. She avoided looking at her reflection, unable to reconcile the frail figure staring back with the strong woman she used to be. Worst of all, Dorothy withdrew emotionally, convinced she was nothing but a burden to her family. Her story is a chilling reminder of how fragile our bodies become with age. What starts as a seemingly harmless misstep can spiral into irreversible damage. Dorothy's fall didn't just break her bones. It shattered her confidence, her freedom, and her sense of self-worth. And though physical therapy eventually helped her regain some mobility, the scars, both visible and invisible, remained. C. Respiratory diseases, breathing against the odds. Margaret, 75, began her day with a persistent cough. At first, she dismissed it as a common cold, something that would pass in a few days. But weeks turned into months and the cough worsened. Climbing stairs became an ordeal. She had to stop halfway to catch her breath. One terrifying night, Margaret woke choking, her lungs desperate for air. Her family rushed her to the emergency room, where doctors delivered grim news. Decades of exposure to polluted air had severely damaged her lungs. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, was slowly suffocating her. Reflecting on her life, Margaret recalled living near a chemical plant for over 2 decades. Back then, she never thought twice about the thick smoke billowing from its chimneys. Now, every labored breath served as a cruel reminder of the toll environmental toxins had taken on her body. Even simple activities like brushing her teeth left her winded. Despite treatments and medications, Margaret knew her condition wouldn't improve significantly. Each inhalation felt like a battle against time, each exhalation a surrender to the inevitable. Yet amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope. After installing air purifiers and avoiding allergens, Margaret noticed slight improvements. Though far from perfect, these changes allowed her to spend more quality time with her grandchildren, a small victory in an otherwise daunting fight. Stroke. The day life changed forever. Frank's stroke came without warning. One morning, as he prepared breakfast, his right arm suddenly went limp. He tried to call out to his wife, but only garbled sounds escaped his lips. Alarmed, she rushed to his side, finding him slumped on the floor, eyes wide with terror. The ambulance ride to the hospital remains etched in their memories, a blur of flashing lights and unanswered prayers. Doctors managed to stabilize Frank, but the road to recovery was long and grueling. Once a fiercely independent man, Frank now relied on others for everything, from feeding himself to dressing. Speech therapy sessions yielded minimal progress, leaving him frustrated and despondent. Depression set in as he replayed the moments leading up to the stroke in his mind. Why hadn't he paid closer attention to his hypertension? Why had he ignored the subtle signs? For Frank, survival meant adapting to a new reality, one devoid of autonomy. Though grateful to still be alive, he couldn't shake the feeling of failure. Every milestone achieved during rehabilitation brought mixed emotions: pride tinged with sorrow, hope overshadowed by loss. His journey underscored the importance of vigilance, how managing risk factors like high blood pressure could mean the difference between thriving and merely surviving. We're here by selected by fish my mind, though. Cognitive decline, losing pieces of yourself. Emma's decline began subtly, almost imperceptibly. First, she forgot recipes she'd memorized decades ago. Then she misplaced items around the house, blaming it on absent-mindedness. But the turning point came when she forgot how to turn on the stove, a task she'd performed daily for 50 years. Concerned, her children installed cameras to monitor her safety. One afternoon, Emma wandered out of the house without locking the door, giving burglars easy access. Thankfully, neighbors intervened before anything worse happened. As cognitive impairment progressed, Emma struggled to recognize loved ones. Her daughter tearfully recounted moments when Emma asked, "Who are you?" or called her grandson by the wrong name. These interactions pierced deep into their hearts, reminders of the irreversible nature of dementia. Eventually, the family made the heartbreaking decision to move Emma into assisted living. There, surrounded by strangers, she spent her final years in quiet confusion, disconnected from the world she once cherished. Emma's story serves as a poignant testament to the fragility of memory and identity. While medical science continues to search for cures, prevention remains our best defense. Engaging in mental exercises, staying socially connected, and adopting brain-healthy diets may delay or even prevent the onset of cognitive decline. Conclusion: lessons learned through tragedy. These stories, Henry's heart attack, Dorothy's fall, Margaret's respiratory struggles, Frank's stroke, and Emma's cognitive decline, are not isolated incidents. They represent universal truths about aging and mortality. Each scenario underscores the critical need for awareness, prevention, and action. Whether it's monitoring blood pressure, securing rugs to prevent falls, improving air quality, controlling hypertension, or stimulating the brain, small steps today can safeguard tomorrow. Let these narratives inspire you to take charge of your health. Share them with friends and family. Spread awareness and prioritize well-being, because while aging is inevitable, suffering isn't. Together we can rewrite the script of aging, one mindful choice at a time. Imagine sitting beside an old friend, their frail hand trembling in yours. You watch as they struggle to take each labored breath, their chest rising and falling with excruciating effort. Every step they take is a battle against gravity. Every word they speak, a fading echo of the vibrant person they once were. Worst of all, their memories, those precious fragments of life, are slipping away like sand through an hourglass. They can no longer recall the names of loved ones or the stories that define their existence. As you sit there holding their hand, a chilling thought crosses your mind. Could this happen to me? Could I end up just like them if I don't act now? The harsh truth is, time doesn't wait for anyone. Each second that ticks by is another opportunity lost forever. If you choose to ignore the warning signs today, fatigue after meals, shortness of breath climbing stairs, forgetfulness when completing simple tasks, you may find yourself lying on a hospital bed tomorrow, tethered to machines and dependent on others for survival. Remember Dorothy, whose fall shattered an arm, only her hip but also her independence? Or Margaret, gasping for air while her lungs succumbed to years of neglect? Their stories aren't isolated tragedies. They're cautionary tales meant to wake us up before it's too late. Every decision you make or fail to make shapes the trajectory of your future. That extra serving of processed food might seem harmless now, but over time it silently clogs your arteries. Skipping daily movement feels inconsequential until one day your muscles weaken so much that even standing becomes a challenge. Neglecting small symptoms like dizziness or joint pain could lead to catastrophic consequences down the road. These choices compound into either vitality or vulnerability, and yet hope remains within reach. The same strategies that helped Robert regain his strength after a heart attack, or Emma reconnect with her family through cognitive exercises, are available to you right now. It starts with action. Today, not tomorrow. Add nutrient-rich foods like papayas and avocados to your diet. Move your body, even if it's just 10 minutes of stretching. Schedule that overdue checkup. Share these insights with someone who needs them, because spreading awareness saves lives. Don't let yourself become the next statistic. Time is ticking, and every moment counts. Wake now for yourself, for your loved ones, for a future filled with strength, clarity, and independence. Right now, as you're watching this video, hundreds of seniors are being rushed to hospitals, some clutching their chests in the throes of a heart attack, others lying unconscious after devastating falls, and many gasping for breath as their lungs fail them. These aren't distant tragedies. They're happening right now, all around us. And here's the hard truth. You or someone you love could easily become the next statistic if action isn't taken today. Imagine your body as a grand building, the kind that stands tall with history and resilience. But now picture it crumbling, brick by brick, with no way to retrieve what has fallen. Each missed opportunity for action is another piece of the foundation giving way, leaving behind a fragile shell incapable of withstanding the test of time. That's exactly what happens when we ignore the warning signs our bodies send us. Every cell lost to neglect or poor choices chips away at the very core of who we are. The hourglass doesn't stop for anyone. As I watch my grandfather Robert struggle through his recovery from a heart attack, it felt like watching grains of sand slip irreversibly through the narrowing neck of an hourglass. Each grain represented dying cells, fading strength, and stolen independence, all slipping away before our eyes. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of us realizing how little control we have over time if we don't act early enough. By the time symptoms became impossible to dismiss, so much damage had already been done. His fatigue hadn't been just aging. It was a silent countdown ticking closer to disaster. And then there was Dorothy, whose fall shattered more than her hip. It broke her spirit. The day she tumbled down those stairs, I could almost hear the bricks hitting the ground one after another. Her independence crumbled along with her bones, and nothing could bring back the life she once knew. We installed handrails, adjusted medications, and worked on strengthening her muscles. But why did it take tragedy to spur these changes? If only we'd acted sooner, perhaps she wouldn't have spent 6 agonizing months bedridden, staring blankly at the ceiling, while her world grew smaller and darker. Even Margaret's story serves as a haunting reminder. When she first started gasping for breath, it seemed manageable, a minor inconvenience rather than a red flag. But inside her lungs, invisible cracks were spreading, weakening the walls until they collapsed under pressure. Every cough suppressed, every shortness of breath ignored, allowed the decay to spread unchecked. Like water seeping into the foundation of a house, the damage worsened silently until repair was nearly impossible. Don't let yourself or your loved ones become another statistic. Don't wait until the last grain of sand falls. Act now, not tomorrow, not next week, because tomorrow may never come. Your future self will thank you. Not everyone will live to see their 100th birthday, but with the right knowledge and action, you can truly live in the years you do have. These words aren't just a platitude, they're a lifeline. Imagine this vivid contrast. While others your age are confined to hospital beds or struggling daily with preventable illnesses, like Robert's heart attack that nearly took him away, Dorothy's fall that stole her independence, Margaret gasping for breath as her lungs failed her. You could be stepping into your hundreds with a radiant smile, full of energy, vitality, and purpose. This isn't fantasy. It's a possibility within reach if you take control today. Think about Henry, who once dismissed apples as just another fruit, until he added them to his diet and saw his joint pain fade, his digestion improve, and his energy soar. Or consider Frank, whose journey from battling high blood pressure to reclaiming his strength began with something as simple as swapping processed snacks for creamy avocados. These weren't miracles, they were choices. Small, consistent actions that transform their lives. And now imagine yourself on the other side of those decisions. What would it feel like to wake up each morning without the weight of regret pressing down on you? To move through life unburdened by the diseases that claim so many after 75? But here's the hard truth. Time is unforgiving. Every missed opportunity to nourish your body, to strengthen your muscles, or to protect your brain is a step closer to becoming one of those statistics we discussed earlier. The ones where heart disease, falls, respiratory illnesses, strokes, and cognitive decline rob people of their golden years. The image of an elderly person trapped in a wheelchair, unable to recognize loved ones, isn't just a tragic story, it's a warning. It's what happens when prevention is ignored, when small signs are dismissed, when action is delayed. Now contrast that bleak picture with this. A vibrant centenarian walking confidently through their garden, laughing with grandchildren, cooking meals they love, and living without fear of illness dictating their days. This isn't fiction. It's the result of understanding the risks and acting decisively. Blueberries preserve memory. Avocados shield the heart. Pomegranates keep blood flowing freely. Papayas aid digestion and immunity. Apples reduce inflammation and stabilize blood sugar. Together, these fruits aren't just food, they're tools for rewriting your future. So ask yourself, which path will you choose? Will you wait until it's too late, watching helplessly as your health slips away? Or will you start now, taking charge of your destiny by making smarter choices every single day? Remember, aging is inevitable, but suffering isn't. You hold the power to shape how you age, to ensure that your later years are filled with joy, freedom, and fulfillment instead of pain, dependency, and regret. The clock is ticking. Each second counts. Don't let another moment pass without committing to change. Whether it's adding nutrient-rich foods to your plate, scheduling that overdue checkup, or simply moving your body a little more each day, the steps you take today will echo throughout the rest of your life. Picture yourself at 100, not frail and forgotten, but thriving and cherished. Make that vision real. Your future self will thank you.